Listen carefully. What I'm about to share will completely change how you think about marriage, relationships, and love itself. Have you ever wondered why brilliant people, successful professionals, individuals who excel in every area of their lives, suddenly become complete disasters when it comes to choosing a life partner? Why do they marry the wrong person, stay in toxic relationships, or sabotage perfectly good marriages? The answer isn't what you think. It's not about emotional intelligence. It's not about communication skills. And it definitely isn't about finding the one. Here's the shocking truth that relationship experts don't want you to know. Smart people make terrible marriage choices because they approach love like a business transaction. They create lists. They analyze compatibility. They weigh pros and cons. They treat their heart like a spreadsheet. But marriage isn't a merger. It's not a strategic alliance. It's something far more complex, far more mysterious, and infinitely more powerful than any logical framework can capture. I've spent over 2 decades counseling couples, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The couples who stay together, the ones who build lasting, fulfilling marriages, they understand something that the rest of us miss completely. Something that has nothing to do with compatibility charts or relationship advice columns. They understand that marriage isn't about finding the right person, it's about becoming the right person. And that transformation, that beautiful, terrifying, life-changing transformation happens not before you say, I do, but every single day after you've made that commitment. Think about your own relationship for a moment. When you first met your partner, what attracted you wasn't their potential to be improved. It wasn't their willingness to change for you. It was who they were in that moment, their authentic self, their quirks, their passions, their way of seeing the world. Yet somewhere along the way, many of us fall into the trap of trying to optimize our partners, like we're debugging code. We want them to be more romantic, more organized, more social, more ambitious. We love them, yes, but we love them with conditions, with expectations, with a silent agenda for improvement. This is where smart people get it catastrophically wrong. They marry potential instead of reality. They fall in love with their own projection of who their partner could become, rather than accepting and cherishing who their partner actually is right now in this moment. The most successful marriages I've witnessed share one common thread: radical acceptance. Not passive resignation, but active, conscious, deliberate acceptance of their partner's humanity, their flaws, their limitations, their unchangeable quirks that might drive you crazy on a Tuesday morning, but make you laugh on a Saturday night. But here's what's truly fascinating about this acceptance principle. When you stop trying to change your partner, something magical happens. They start changing naturally, not because they feel pressured or criticized, but because they feel safe, accepted, loved unconditionally. And from that place of security, people naturally evolve toward their best selves. This isn't psychology. This isn't theory. This is the fundamental law of human transformation that governs every successful long-term relationship on the planet. Everyone talks about communication. Communication, communication, communication. It's the holy grail of relationship advice. You just need to communicate better, they say. Learn to express your feelings, they insist. Talk it out, they demand. But what if everything we've been taught about marital communication is not just wrong, but actively harmful? Here's what no one tells you. Most relationship problems aren't communication problems. They're respect problems. They're boundary problems. They're fundamental differences in values that no amount of talking can resolve. I've seen couples who communicate beautifully, they express their feelings clearly, they listen actively, they use I statements instead of you accusations. They follow every rule in every relationship book ever written, and they're absolutely miserable. Why? Because they're communicating about the wrong things. They talk about who forgot to take out the trash, who spent too much money, who's not being affectionate enough. Surface issues, symptoms, the tip of the iceberg. Meanwhile, the real issues, the ones that actually matter, remain buried deep beneath layers of politeness and conflict avoidance. The truth is, happy couples don't communicate more than unhappy couples. They communicate differently. They've learned to distinguish between problems that need to be solved and differences that need to be accepted. They understand that some conversations are worth having and some battles are worth avoiding entirely. Let me share something that might surprise you. In my practice, I've noticed that couples who fight regularly often have stronger marriages than couples who never fight at all. Why? Because fighting, when done respectfully, indicates investment. It shows that both partners care enough about the relationship to engage with difficult topics. They're not checked out. They're not indifferent. They're actively working to resolve issues instead of letting resentment build. The couples who never fight? Often, one or both partners have simply given up. They've decided the relationship isn't worth the effort. They keep the peace by avoiding anything real, anything meaningful, anything that might create temporary discomfort but lead to genuine understanding. This is the communication paradox that destroys modern marriages. We've been taught that good relationships should be easy, conflict-free, harmonious. But the relationships that last decades, the marriages that deepen over time instead of growing stale, they're built on a foundation of respectful disagreement. These couples have learned that you don't need to agree on everything to love each other deeply. You don't need to share the same opinions to share a life. You don't need to think identically to think as a team. What you do need is the courage to be authentically yourself, even when that self disagrees with your partner. You need the maturity to hear perspectives that challenge your own. And you need the wisdom to know when to compromise and when to stand your ground. This is advanced relationship skills. This is what separates marriages that survive from marriages that thrive. It's not about talking more. It's about talking better, about choosing your battles wisely, about saying what needs to be said and leaving space for what doesn't need to be resolved immediately. The most profound conversations in marriage often happen without words, through presence, through attention, through the 1,000 small acts of consideration that say, I see you, I value you, I choose you more clearly than any verbal declaration ever could. Money, the topic that makes comfortable couples suddenly uncomfortable. The subject that transforms loving partners into adversaries. The silent destroyer of more marriages than any other single factor. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. It's not about the money. I've counseled couples earning minimum wage who never fight about finances, and I've worked with millionaires who nearly divorced over a $50 purchase. The amount in your bank account has almost nothing to do with whether money becomes a source of harmony or conflict in your marriage. What matters is what money represents to each of you, and those representations, those deep psychological associations with financial security, were formed long before you ever met your spouse. For some people, money represents safety, security, the ability to protect their family from uncertainty and hardship. For others, money represents freedom, independence, the power to make choices without asking permission or seeking approval. Still others see money as a scorecard, a way to measure success, worth, or social standing. Now imagine two people with completely different money psychology trying to share a bank account. One person sees saving as security, the other sees it as deprivation. One views debt as a tool for building wealth, the other sees it as a threat to stability. One believes in spending money to enjoy life, the other believes in sacrificing present pleasure for future peace of mind. These aren't just different approaches to budgeting. These are fundamentally different worldviews, different value systems, different ways of understanding what it means to live a good life. And here's the part that will shock you. Most couples never have an honest conversation about their money psychology. They argue about specific purchases, specific expenses, specific financial decisions, but they never address the underlying beliefs that drive those decisions. She buys organic food because her family struggled with health issues, and she associates quality nutrition with love and protection. He sees the grocery bill and thinks she's being wasteful because his family taught him that love means being frugal and practical. Neither is wrong, but neither understands the other's deeper motivation. He wants to invest in the stock market because he associates financial risk-taking with providing for his family's future. She wants to keep money in savings because she associates financial stability with being a responsible parent. Again, neither is wrong. But without understanding each other's underlying psychology, every financial discussion becomes a battle between seemingly incompatible values. The couples who successfully navigate financial challenges together have learned to separate the practical from the psychological. They recognize that money conversations are never really about money. They're about fear, hope, values, dreams, and deeply held beliefs about security and responsibility. These wise couples create space for both partners' financial psychology. They don't try to convince each other that one approach is superior. Instead, they find creative ways to honor both perspectives. Maybe they maintain individual accounts for personal spending alongside shared accounts for common goals. Maybe they designate certain financial decisions as individual choices and others as joint decisions. What they don't do is try to force their partner to think about money the way they do. They understand that asking someone to change their fundamental relationship with financial security is like asking them to change their personality. It's possible, but it's not fair, and it's not necessary for a successful marriage. The most financially harmonious couples I know aren't necessarily the wealthiest. They're the ones who've learned to respect each other's money story. They understand that behind every financial anxiety is a legitimate concern. Behind every financial priority is a meaningful value. Behind every financial habit is a learned strategy for navigating an uncertain world. Let's talk about something that makes everyone uncomfortable, but affects nearly every long-term relationship: physical intimacy. The elephant in the bedroom that couples pretend doesn't exist until it becomes impossible to ignore. Here's a statistic that will surprise you. 70% of married couples report being unsatisfied with their physical relationship. 70%. That means the majority of marriages are dealing with intimacy challenges that they're probably not discussing openly with each other, let alone with friends or family. But the real crisis isn't about frequency. It's not about technique. It's not even about physical attraction, although that's what most people assume. The real intimacy crisis is about emotional safety. Physical intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to be seen, to be known, to be potentially rejected at your most exposed moment. and vulnerability requires safety, trust, the absolute certainty that your partner will handle your openness with care and respect. When that safety erodes, when couples stop feeling emotionally secure with each other, physical intimacy becomes complicated, not because the attraction has died, but because the foundation that makes vulnerability possible has been damaged. Think about it this way. If you don't feel heard during dinner conversation, how likely are you to feel comfortable expressing your desires in the bedroom? If you don't feel appreciated for your daily contributions to the family, how easy is it to feel attractive and desirable? If you don't trust your partner to handle conflict respectfully, how safe does it feel to be physically vulnerable with them? This is why the advice to just schedule more intimate time misses the point entirely. You can't schedule emotional safety. You can't calendar trust. You can't put vulnerability on your to-do list and expect it to happen automatically. The couples who maintain passionate, fulfilling physical relationships throughout decades of marriage understand something crucial. Intimacy begins long before you enter the bedroom. It starts with how you greet each other in the morning, how you handle disagreements, how you support each other through stress, how you prioritize each other's emotional needs throughout the regular, mundane moments of daily life. Sexual desire isn't mysterious. It follows predictable patterns. It flourishes in environments of mutual respect, emotional safety, and genuine appreciation. It withers in climates of criticism, contempt, and neglect. But here's what's fascinating. Many couples focus entirely on the physical aspects of their intimate relationship while completely ignoring the emotional dynamics that actually fuel desire. They buy books about technique, they plan romantic getaways, they schedule date nights, all wonderful things, but they skip the foundation work that makes physical connection feel natural and desired rather than obligatory and awkward. The most sexually satisfied couples I work with share several key characteristics. They prioritize emotional intimacy throughout their daily interactions. They express appreciation regularly and specifically. They handle conflicts in ways that build trust rather than damaging it. They make each other feel valued and desired through words and actions that have nothing to do with physical touch. They understand that seduction isn't something that happens in the bedroom. It's something that happens in the kitchen while making coffee together, in the living room while discussing your day, in the car during everyday conversations. It's the ongoing process of choosing each other, appreciating each other, making each other feel special and irreplaceable. When you feel truly valued by your partner, when you trust them completely, when you know they find you attractive, not just physically, but as a complete person, physical intimacy becomes natural, desired, something you move toward rather than something you feel pressured to perform. This is the intimacy secret that transforms marriages. Stop trying to fix your physical relationship directly. Instead, focus on creating the emotional environment where physical connection can flourish naturally. "7 years. It's not just a myth or an old wives' tale. There's something real, something almost universally experienced that happens around the 7-year mark in committed relationships. The honeymoon phase is definitely over. You've seen each other through multiple crises, celebrations, changes, and challenges. You know each other's patterns, habits, and responses so well that they've become predictable. The mystery is gone. The novelty has worn off. The relationship has settled into something. But what that something becomes depends entirely on choices you make during this critical transition period. For many couples, year 7 becomes year goodbye. The statistics are sobering. Divorce rates spike dramatically around the 7-year mark, not because couples stop loving each other, but because they stop choosing each other actively and intentionally. They fall into what I call relationship autopilot. They assume that love, once established, will sustain itself without ongoing investment. They take each other for granted. They stop doing the small things that made them fall in love initially. They stop growing as individuals and as partners. But successful couples, the ones who not only survive the 7-year transition, but use it as a launching pad for even deeper connection, they approach this phase completely differently. They recognize that familiarity, while comfortable, can be the enemy of passion if you're not intentional about maintaining mystery and growth within your relationship. They understand that knowing someone deeply doesn't mean there's nothing left to discover. People change, evolve, develop new interests and perspectives throughout their lives. The question is whether you're paying attention to those changes or whether you've stopped seeing your partner as a dynamic, growing person. These wise couples use the 7-year mark as an opportunity for intentional renewal. They ask themselves hard questions. Are we still growing together or just existing together? Are we bringing out the best in each other or have we settled into mediocrity? Are we creating new memories and experiences or just repeating old patterns? Most importantly, they recognize that long-term love requires different skills than early-stage romance. The butterflies and constant excitement of new relationships can't be sustained indefinitely, and that's not necessarily a problem. What replaces it can be even more valuable: deep trust, intimate knowledge, comfortable companionship, shared history, and the profound satisfaction of having chosen each other repeatedly through various seasons of life. But this transition only works if both partners are committed to ongoing growth and investment. The couples who thrive past year 7 are those who continue dating each other even after marriage. They prioritize time together without children, work, or other distractions. They try new experiences together. They maintain individual interests and friendships that keep them interesting to each other. They also develop realistic expectations about what love looks like in its mature form. It's less about constant passion and more about consistent presence. Less about dramatic gestures and more about daily kindness. Less about solving each other's problems and more about supporting each other through life's inevitable challenges. The 7-year mark isn't a crisis to survive. It's a graduation to celebrate. It means you've successfully navigated the initial stages of relationship building and are ready for the deeper, more complex, more rewarding work of building a lifetime partnership. Those couples who embrace this transition discover something beautiful. Mature love is more satisfying than young love, even if it's less dramatic. The security of knowing someone will be there for you, the comfort of shared understanding, the joy of building something meaningful together over time. These gifts are only available to those who stick around long enough to receive them. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will test your marriage like having children. Before kids, you had time, energy, the luxury of focusing on each other's needs, desires, and emotional states. Conflicts could be resolved through long conversations. Romance could be spontaneous. You could prioritize your relationship because, frankly, it was the only relationship that required active maintenance. Then children arrive. Beautiful, demanding, all-consuming children who need everything from you and have no concern whatsoever for your marriage's well-being. Suddenly, you're not just husband and wife, you're parents, co-managers of a 24/7 operation that never stops requiring attention, decision-making, and resources. Sleep becomes scarce. Privacy disappears. Spontaneity becomes a memory. Your identity shifts from couple who happens to have children to parents who used to be a couple. And here's the trap that destroys even the strongest marriages. In their dedication to being good parents, couples often forget to be good partners. They pour all their energy into raising their children and assume their marriage will survive on whatever's left over. But what's left over is usually exhaustion, stress, and the occasional frustrated conversation about logistics and responsibilities. The irony is heartbreaking. In their effort to provide their children with a loving family, many couples inadvertently model a relationship that lacks intimacy, appreciation, and joy. They become roommates, sharing child-rearing duties rather than lovers building a life together. Children, despite what we tell ourselves, don't actually need parents who sacrifice their relationship for their kids' benefit. What children need is parents who love each other openly, who demonstrate healthy relationship dynamics, who show them what it looks like when two people choose each other consistently through life's challenges. Children thrive when their parents' marriage is strong. They feel secure when mom and dad clearly enjoy each other's company. They learn valuable lessons about love, respect, and partnership by watching their parents navigate conflict, celebrate successes, and support each other through difficulties. But maintaining marital health while raising children requires intentionality that many couples don't realize they need until it's almost too late. The couples who succeed at both parenting and partnering share several key strategies. First, they protect time for their relationship, even when it seems impossible or selfish. They arrange childcare so they can have conversations that aren't about schedules, discipline, or family logistics. They maintain physical affection that isn't just rushed kisses goodbye. They remember that they were lovers before they were parents and will hopefully be lovers after their children leave home. Second, they resist the temptation to become so consumed with their children's needs that they forget their own and each other's needs. They understand that taking care of their marriage isn't taking away from their children. It's giving their children the gift of parents who love each other. Third, they communicate about the changes that parenting brings to their relationship instead of just enduring those changes silently. They acknowledge that having children has shifted their dynamic, and they work together to adapt rather than assuming things will eventually return to how they were before. They also recognize that different phases of parenting present different challenges to their marriage. New babies require different adjustments than toddlers, who require different strategies than teenagers. They remain flexible and communicate about what their relationship needs during each phase, instead of applying one-size-fits-all solutions. Most importantly, they remember that their children will eventually grow up and move out. The couple who was buried under the demands of active parenting will someday find themselves alone together again. The question is whether they'll still know and like each other when that day comes. The strongest families are built on the foundation of a strong marriage, not the other way around. Children benefit enormously from seeing their parents prioritize their relationship. It teaches them that love requires ongoing investment, that marriage is valuable enough to protect, and that they can trust the stability of their family because mom and dad are committed to each other, not just to them. Here's a question that haunts modern marriages. Is it better to work longer hours to provide financial security for your family, or to work less and spend more time together, even if it means financial sacrifice? This isn't just a practical question. It's a values question, a lifestyle question, a question that reveals fundamental beliefs about what makes life meaningful and what kind of legacy you want to leave. And couples fight about this, constantly. One partner believes that financial security is the foundation of family happiness. Work hard now, they argue, so we can relax later, build savings, pay off debt, provide opportunities for our children, create a buffer against life's uncertainties. The other partner believes that time is the most valuable resource. Money can be replaced, they insist, but missed moments with family cannot. Why work so much that we're too tired to enjoy the life we're supposedly building? Why prioritize future security over present connection? Both perspectives are valid. Both come from love. Both represent genuine concern for the family's well-being. And both, when taken to extremes, can damage the very relationships they're trying to protect. The workaholic provides beautifully for their family's financial needs, but becomes emotionally unavailable. The children have everything money can buy, but struggle to connect with a parent who's always stressed, always busy, always thinking about the next deadline or business challenge. The time-focused partner creates wonderful memories and strong emotional bonds, but may leave the family vulnerable to financial stress. The children feel loved and supported, but may also absorb anxiety about money, security, and their parents' ability to handle adult responsibilities. Most couples approach this dilemma as an either-or choice. Either we prioritize money or we prioritize time. Either we focus on providing or we focus on being present. But the most successful families I know have found ways to reject this false dichotomy. They've learned to be strategic about both time and money. They make conscious decisions about what level of financial security is truly necessary versus what level represents anxiety or social pressure. They distinguish between wants and needs. They find ways to increase income without proportionally increasing work hours. They create systems and boundaries that protect family time while still maintaining financial responsibility. These wise couples also communicate clearly about their financial and lifestyle goals. They don't assume they share the same priorities or definitions of success. They have explicit conversations about what enough means to each of them. Enough money, enough time, enough security, enough adventure. They recognize that different seasons of life may require different balances between work and family time. The early career-building years might demand more professional focus. The years with young children might require more schedule flexibility. The approach that works when you're 30 might not work when you're 50. What they don't do is sacrifice their relationship for either money or family time. They understand that their marriage is what gives meaning to both financial success and family moments. A financially secure family with parents who resent each other isn't happy. A time-rich family with parents who are stressed about money isn't peaceful. The goal isn't perfect balance, which is impossible, but conscious choice. Knowing why you're making the trade-offs you're making. Being honest about the costs and benefits of your decisions. Adjusting as circumstances change, communicating with your partner about how your choices are affecting your relationship and your family's well-being. The most important realization these couples reach is this: your children don't need you to choose between providing for them and being present with them. What they need is parents who work together to create the best possible combination of security and connection, who make thoughtful decisions about resources and priorities, and who model how to build a life that honors both practical responsibilities and relational values. 20 years, 2 decades of active parenting, your entire adult identity built around schedules, responsibilities, and the constant needs of growing children. Your marriage defined by shared logistics, tag team parenting, and conversations that rarely strayed from family matters. Then suddenly, it's quiet. The house that once buzzed with homework battles, friend drama, sports schedules, and college applications falls silent. The calendar that was packed with school events, extracurricular activities, and family obligations opens up with vast, empty spaces. The budget line items for school supplies, sports fees, and teenage social activities become available for what exactly? For the first time in decades, you and your spouse are alone together. Really alone. And for many couples, this transition is terrifying. Empty nest syndrome isn't just about missing your children, although that longing is real and profound. It's about discovering whether you still have a relationship with each other that exists independent of your roles as parents. Some couples discover that they've grown together through the parenting years. They've remained friends, lovers, and partners while also becoming effective co-parents. They've maintained shared interests, ongoing conversations, and mutual respect, even while navigating the chaos of family life. These couples often find the empty nest years to be among the most satisfying of their marriage. They have the freedom to focus on each other again. They can travel spontaneously, have long conversations without interruption, rediscover physical intimacy without worrying about children overhearing, and pursue interests that may have been put on hold during the intensive parenting years. But other couples discover something much more frightening. They realize they've become strangers living in the same house. Their conversations have been limited to child-related logistics for so long that they no longer know how to talk to each other about anything else. Their shared activities have revolved around their children's needs for so many years that they can't remember what they enjoyed doing together as a couple. These marriages face a crisis that no one talks about openly. After successfully raising children together, after accomplishing one of life's most challenging and meaningful tasks, they find themselves asking, "Now what? Who are we to each other if we're not actively parenting? What do we have in common besides our shared history and mutual love for our children?" The transition can be even more complicated for couples who've had different levels of investment in parenting. If one partner has been more focused on career, while the other has been more focused on family management, the shift to empty nest can feel dramatically different for each person. The career-focused parent might feel relief and excitement about having fewer family responsibilities competing for their attention. The family-focused parent might feel lost, wondering what their purpose and identity are now that active parenting is over. The couples who navigate this transition successfully prepare for it long before it happens. Throughout the parenting years, they maintain traditions and interests that belong to them as a couple, not as a family. They continue dating each other. They develop friendships with other couples. They pursue individual interests that give them something to talk about beyond family matters. They also use the empty nest transition as an opportunity for intentional renewal. They ask each other, "What do we want our relationship to look like now? What dreams did we put on hold that we can pursue together? How do we want to spend this season of our lives?" Most importantly, they recognize that their role as parents isn't ending, it's evolving. Their children will always be their children, but the day-to-day responsibilities of parenting are complete. Their adult children need them as emotional support, wisdom sources, and family anchors, but not as daily managers of their lives. This shift can actually strengthen marriages if couples embrace it consciously. They can offer each other the kind of focused attention and appreciation that wasn't possible during the intensive parenting years. They can rediscover each other as individuals who've grown and changed through their shared experiences. The empty nest years can become the harvest season of marriage, the time when couples enjoy the fruits of all the work they've put into building a strong foundation, raising good humans, and maintaining their connection through decades of challenges and changes. We'll have so much time together when we retire. It'll be wonderful to finally relax and enjoy each other's company without work stress. We'll travel, pursue hobbies, and really focus on our relationship. These are the dreams couples share about retirement. The fantasy of finally having unlimited time to spend together, pursuing shared interests, and enjoying the golden years of their relationship. The reality is often quite different, and for many couples, dramatically more challenging than they anticipated. After decades of spending 8 to 10 hours apart each weekday, suddenly you're together constantly. The spouse who seemed charming and interesting during your limited evening and weekend time together now fills your entire schedule. Every habit, every quirk, every way of approaching daily life that was barely noticeable when you only shared mornings, evenings, and weekends becomes magnified when you're together 24/7. He likes to start projects first thing in the morning. She prefers to ease into the day slowly. He wants to plan every detail of their activities. She enjoys spontaneity and flexibility. He's ready to embrace full retirement relaxation. She's interested in volunteering, learning new skills, staying active in community organizations. These differences, which were easily accommodated when work schedules provided natural separation and structure, suddenly become sources of daily negotiation and potential conflict. But the adjustment challenges go deeper than just learning to share space and time. Retirement often triggers an identity crisis for one or both partners. Careers provide structure, purpose, social connections, and a sense of accomplishment. When those elements disappear overnight, many retirees struggle to figure out who they are and what their life is supposed to be about. The partner who thrived on professional challenges might feel bored and restless. The partner who looked forward to slowing down might feel guilty or worried about their suddenly unmotivated spouse. The partner who maintained extensive work friendships might feel socially isolated. The partner who enjoyed work-related travel might feel confined by their suddenly smaller world. Financial anxiety often complicates the retirement transition, even for couples who've planned carefully. The shift from earning income to spending savings can feel psychologically uncomfortable, regardless of how adequate the retirement funds actually are. Couples who never fought about money during their working years might suddenly find themselves disagreeing about spending priorities and lifestyle choices. Health concerns also become more prominent during retirement years. Doctor's appointments replace business meetings. Physical limitations begin affecting activity choices. One partner's health issues may require caregiving from the other, shifting relationship dynamics in ways neither anticipated. But despite these challenges, couples who navigate retirement successfully often discover that this phase of life offers unique opportunities for relationship deepening that weren't available during their busy working years. They have time for long conversations. They can travel during off-peak seasons when destinations are less crowded and more affordable. They can pursue shared learning experiences, volunteer together for causes they care about, and focus on their physical and emotional health in ways that weren't possible when juggling career and family responsibilities. The key to retirement relationship success is preparation that goes beyond financial planning. Successful retirement couples discuss their expectations, dreams, and concerns long before the actual retirement date. They talk about how they want to structure their days, what kinds of activities they want to pursue together versus independently, and how they'll handle the adjustment to being together much more frequently. They also maintain individual interests and friendships throughout retirement. Just as they needed separate identities during their working years, they need personal space and individual pursuits during retirement to remain interesting to each other and to avoid the claustrophobia that can develop when couples spend too much time together without outside stimulation. The most satisfied retirement couples use this phase of life as an opportunity to explore aspects of themselves and their relationship that were put on hold during their busier years. They rediscover each other as individuals who've grown and changed through decades of shared experience. They create new traditions, pursue delayed dreams, and enjoy the luxury of time that they never had before. After all the daily struggles, the financial stress, the parenting challenges, the career pressures, and the countless small moments that make up a marriage, there's one question that ultimately determines whether your relationship was meaningful. What legacy are you leaving? Not just for your children, although that's certainly important, but what legacy are you leaving for each other, for your community, for the understanding of what committed love can look like in a world that often seems to have forgotten? This isn't about perfection. It's not about achieving some impossible standard of marital bliss. It's about the impact your relationship has had on the people around you and the example you've set for what it means to choose someone and keep choosing them through all of life's seasons. Think about the married couples you most admire, the ones whose relationships you look at and think, I want what they have. What is it about their marriages that inspires you? It's probably not that they never fight or that they always agree on everything. It's more likely that they've demonstrated something rare and beautiful, the ability to love consistently through change, challenge, and the ordinary wear of daily life. These couples have shown that it's possible to maintain respect for each other even when you disagree, that you can support each other's individual growth while building something together that's stronger than what either of you could create alone. That love isn't just a feeling, but a commitment to each other's well-being that persists through seasons when feelings fluctuate. The legacy question forces you to think beyond the immediate concerns that dominate most relationship conversations. Instead of focusing on who does the dishes or how often you have date nights, it asks you to consider what your marriage contributes to the world. Are you modeling healthy conflict resolution for your children? Are you showing them that two people can disagree without being disrespectful? Are you demonstrating that love includes supporting each other's dreams, even when those dreams require sacrifice or change? Are you contributing to your community as a strong, stable couple? Are you the friends that other couples turn to for wisdom and support? Are you creating a home environment that feels welcoming and secure to the people in your lives? Are you building something that will outlast you? Not just in terms of children and grandchildren, but in terms of the example you've set, the wisdom you've shared, and the proof you've provided that committed love is possible, worthwhile, and sustainable. The most profound marriages I've witnessed share this common characteristic. They understand that their relationship is bigger than just their personal happiness. They recognize that their commitment to each other serves a larger purpose. They're contributing to the preservation and demonstration of what healthy, committed love looks like. This doesn't mean they sacrifice their individual needs for some abstract greater good. It means they approach their relationship with a sense of responsibility and intentionality that elevates their everyday choices. They understand that how they treat each other matters not just to them, but to everyone who observes their marriage. When you view your marriage through the lens of legacy, certain priorities become clear. You focus less on winning arguments and more on maintaining respect. You spend less energy trying to change your partner and more energy appreciating who they are. You worry less about whether your relationship looks like other people's marriages and more about whether it reflects your deepest values and commitments. The legacy perspective also helps during difficult seasons. When you're tempted to give up, when the challenges seem overwhelming, when you're wondering whether your marriage is worth the effort, the legacy question provides clarity. What kind of story do you want your relationship to tell? Do you want it to be a story of two people who loved each other only when it was easy? Or do you want it to be a story of two people who chose each other repeatedly, especially when choosing each other was difficult? Your marriage legacy isn't determined by whether you avoid problems. It's determined by how you handle problems together. It's not about being perfect individuals, but about being committed partners. It's not about having a relationship that looks good from the outside, but about building something that feels authentic and meaningful from the inside. The couples who create lasting legacies understand that marriage is both intensely personal and surprisingly public. Your relationship influences your children's understanding of love. It affects your friends' beliefs about whether committed relationships can work. It contributes to your community's social fabric and stability. When you take that responsibility seriously, when you recognize that your marriage matters beyond your individual happiness, you make different choices. You invest more intentionally. You forgive more readily. You appreciate more consistently. You approach conflict as a problem to solve together rather than a battle to win individually. This is the ultimate measure of marital success, not whether you stayed together, but whether you stayed together in a way that honored each other's humanity, contributed to each other's growth, and demonstrated to the world that committed love is possible, practical, and profoundly worthwhile. Your marriage legacy is being written every day through the choices you make, the way you treat each other, and the example you set for what it means to love someone completely and consistently through all the seasons of a shared life. Here we are. After exploring every major challenge, every common struggle, every phase and transition that tests committed relationships, there's one final truth that changes how you understand marriage completely. Marriage isn't about finding happiness. It's about creating it, together, daily, through choices that often feel small and insignificant, but accumulate over time into something profound and transformational. The culture tells us that love is something that happens to us. We fall in love. We're struck by Cupid's arrow. We experience love at first sight. All of these metaphors suggest that love is a feeling we receive passively, something that either occurs naturally or doesn't. But mature, lasting, fulfilling marriage love isn't something that happens to you. It's something you do. It's an active choice, a daily commitment, a set of behaviors and attitudes that you practice, regardless of how you feel in any particular moment. This is the secret that transforms marriages from emotional roller coasters into stable, satisfying partnerships. When you stop waiting to feel loving and start acting loving, something magical occurs. The feelings follow the actions. The emotions catch up to the behaviors. The heart aligns with the choices you make with your will. Every successful long-term marriage is built on this foundation. The understanding that love is a verb, not just a noun. It's what you do when your partner is sick, stressed, or difficult to be around. It's how you respond when they disappoint you, misunderstand you, or make choices you wouldn't make. It's the kindness you choose when kindness doesn't come naturally. The patience you practice when patience is the last thing you feel. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending to feel things you don't feel. It means recognizing that emotions are temporary, but commitments are permanent. It means understanding that feelings fluctuate, but character remains consistent. It means knowing that the person you choose to be in your marriage matters more than the person you happen to feel like being on any given day. The couples who build marriages that last decades, who create relationships that deepen rather than diminish over time, who become more connected rather than more distant as they age together, they've all discovered this fundamental truth. Love is a decision you make, not just an emotion you experience. They've learned to appreciate their partner's efforts even when the results aren't perfect. They express gratitude for ordinary kindnesses that could easily be taken for granted. They choose to focus on their partner's positive qualities rather than dwelling on their flaws and limitations. They've discovered that criticism destroys connection while appreciation builds it, that defending your position matters less than understanding your partner's perspective, that being right is less important than being kind, that winning arguments is less valuable than maintaining respect. Most importantly, they've realized that marriage isn't about finding someone who makes you happy. It's about becoming someone who creates happiness for the person you've chosen to love. It's about contributing to their well-being, supporting their dreams, celebrating their successes, and standing with them through their challenges. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of evaluating your marriage based on what you're receiving, you evaluate it based on what you're contributing. Instead of asking, "Are my needs being met?" you ask, "Am I meeting my partner's needs?" Instead of focusing on what's missing, you focus on what's possible. When both partners approach marriage this way, something beautiful happens. You create an environment where love naturally flourishes. You build a relationship where both people feel valued, supported, and appreciated. You develop a partnership that enhances both individuals while creating something together that neither could achieve alone. This is the marriage truth that 89% of couples never discover. The secret to having a great marriage isn't finding the right person. It's being the right person. It's not about getting love, it's about giving love. It's not about being happy in your marriage, it's about creating happiness in your marriage. And when you finally understand this truth, when you stop waiting for your marriage to make you happy and start making choices that create happiness in your marriage, everything changes. Your relationship transforms from a source of frustration into a source of fulfillment. Your partner transforms from someone who disappoints you into someone you appreciate deeply. Your marriage transforms from something you endure into something you celebrate. This is what the couples who stay together for 50, 60, 70 years understand. This is why their relationships grow stronger over time instead of weaker. This is how they create legacies of love that inspire everyone around them. They've discovered that marriage isn't about finding your soulmate. It's about becoming a soulmate to the person you've chosen to love. And that transformation, that beautiful, challenging, rewarding transformation, is available to every couple willing to embrace this simple but revolutionary truth. Love is what you do, not just what you feel.